I've got the best news that I've had all year. It totally fixed 2020 for me. But wine is actually good for us. I'm so excited.
And it has been confirmed. Welcome to our wind down, where we had two very special guests today. We had Andrea Grun, who is a nutritionist, as well as Emily Smith, who works within continued care retirement communities. We've interviewed both of them on previous shows, but we wanted to bring them back for some more fun, healthy conversation.
If you've not had a chance to listen to one of our wind downs before, let me just kind of give you the premise here. The idea is it's not so much an interview as much as just a round table conversation. It's a special podcast each month where Merce and Morgan, and then we have a couple of guests, and we just talk about things going on around retirement, around the economy, around how to prepare for it. And this one was by far one of the most intriguing that we've done, just because the conversation went all over the place, and to the point of actually saying that wine is healthy. And so we hope you enjoy the show. Please, if you've not been able to do so, give us a 5-star rating and write us a little review. That certainly does help us in being able to continue this show. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoy this month's Wind Down. Well, we have made it to another Wind Down, and we love these because it's not just Merce and I talking about retirement planning. It's not an interview the way we normally would do an interview and ask people questions. We're really having a nice conversation, and we have some great guests with us today. These are guests that if you listen to our podcast, you've heard them before. We have Emily Smith. Now, you heard Emily because we did an interview around what are called CCRCs. And a CCRC is a continuous care retirement community, and she answered all kinds of questions. She works at Glen Eyre, which is a local CCRC. And then we also have with us Andrea Grun, and you heard Andrea because Andrea is a nutritionist, and we talked about how to be healthy, especially around this idea of our immune system and making sure that we bolster it and make it more healthy. So thank you both for coming back on and doing a wind down with us. So it's nice to have you. Now, here's the important part of the way we start off a wind down. A wind down is where we actually are having a glass of wine, and I'm going to do my disclosure right up front. Most people, when you hear the wind down podcast, you're getting it somewhere around 8 o'clock in the morning. And people go, wow, you guys are having a glass of wine at 8 o'clock in the morning. But we don't record it at 8 o'clock in the morning. We record it in the afternoon. And right now we're on the edge of 5 o'clock. And so we're completely fine to have a glass of wine. So Morgan is our resident wine person, not wino, wine person.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. So Morgan, could you tell us about our wine that we have?
This week, we've tried something new. We took a favorite of Merce's. So we're going to kind of go around the office and pick favorites for the next couple of wind down episodes. This one is Meiomi. It's a Pinot Noir. And the cool thing about Meiomi is that their vineyards are located in 3 different distinct coastal regions of California. And they use those grapes from those 3 different regions in all of their wines to kind of do a nice blend to give it a very distinct flavor. So Merce, tell us a little bit about why you love Meiomi.
Yeah. I mean, it's my wife and I's favorite by far. It's a really nice, smooth, I think very smooth Pinot Noir. We like Pinots, we like Cabs, but this one for some reason, and we don't know wine that well. Let me just say that, but for some reason we gravitate towards it enough to where we decided when we got married back in 2017 that was our red wine of choice. So it has a sentimental value to me as well. So even if for some reason, if I got really, really good at wine, I think this would always be one of the ones that we choose in the back pocket just because it's sentimental to us. But I think it's very smooth. Anytime that we live right by a Harris Teeter, so it's usually like $19, $20. But anytime that it comes on sale for $16.99, $15.99, you better believe we stock up on it.
Well, very good. So I think everybody's had a little sip at least of the glass. So let me ask you, Andrea, what do you think? Do you like it?
Oh, I really did enjoy it. I love red wine in general. I'm drink a cab or something a little darker and heavier. And this one is right in that category, not quite as heavy as a cab, but I really did enjoy it. And I actually had it with some, I was sneaky and I opened the bottle early yesterday. And so I enjoyed a glass with an Italian dinner last night here at the house. And it really had enough body and could kind of hold its own against that rich, kind of Italian meat red sauce. So yes, I did enjoy it and I plan to enjoy the rest of it. Some now and then the rest of it this evening. So thank you for introducing me
That was
to
a
this
great,
wine.
yeah, that's a great review there. That was very thorough.
We need to
Well,
get her to do
unless we
all of our wine introductions.
Well, I was going to say, unless we forget, right, the red wine has the additional health benefits from that nice
Yeah.
dark red grape. So I'm glad that we have a red and getting the full health benefits along with our enjoyment.
Yeah, you know what? That's what Morgan always says, is that she's having a healthy meal. We're like, oh, okay, that's what that really means. Okay, so Emily, what do you think?
It's lovely. It's really smooth, as Merce said, and I typically, always go for a cab or a Pinot Noir. So this is perfect. Over the Christmas holiday, a friend of mine, who loves wine and knows much more about it than I do, he was telling me, he's like, Emily, you have to have an aerator. And he said it just changes everything. And so now I'm curious to go home tonight and try a glass with and try a glass without. So this will be my first chance to do that. So
Very good.
Yeah, it is. We have an aerator at home that we use quite a bit, and I think it does it makes a noticeable difference.
yeah,
Whether or not you want to take the time to do it and then clean it and all that stuff, sometimes
Right.
it's worth it, sometimes it's not.
yeah.
But I think while we're talking about the wine, and we have Andrea Grun on, who is a nutritionist, dietitian by background, I think it would make sense to pick her brain a little bit on wine. You kind of touched on it just now as to the some of the benefits, and you can go back and forth on it. I've read articles with the pros, I've read articles with the cons, but what's your stance on wine? Is it better to drink a red versus a white? And what's the moderation here? Some people say you can drink a glass every single day, some people say different. So what are your thoughts?
Right. So the recommendations are with the wine in moderation, that with any alcoholic beverage, that women should enjoy up to a glass a day, so a serving a day, and men can have up to 2 servings a day. Once again, it goes back to weight and muscle mass. Ladies, we always feel like we get shortchanged on the good stuff. And this is another example,
I
but
was just going to
again-
say it's just not fair.
I know, but the science is there and backs it up. So we're just going to try and stick to our 1 glass a day. If you, of course, are not drinking currently or choose not to drink, I'm not encouraging you to begin, but if you do enjoy, a glass of wine or something to drink occasionally, yeah, we tend to recommend the red wines more than the white. The whites do have some benefits, but again, we get back to it's a nice, deep, rich, dark red. And any of the fruits or vegetables that have that deep, rich color, whether it's a red or a deep green or a deep purple, always have increased or additional benefits to us versus something that's a lighter shade of whichever color you're talking about. So if you enjoy the whites, enjoy them, you're still getting some benefit. But if you like the reds, you get a little bit of a extra boost, I'll say, with that one.
Very
I've
good.
I've always heard, Andrea, is this
Mhm.
true that a white wine has a lot more sugar? Is that why, other than just the fact that there might be more to it, but is there more sugar typically in a white wine?
Not necessarily. It depends on how dry the wine is. So the drier the wine, the less sugar it has, right? So we kind of get to a sweeter wine. And I'm sitting here trying to think of an example of a sweet wine.
Muscat wine.
The Duplin County
Ooh,
wine, muscadine wine that everyone
Right.
starts on.
Yeah, I don't want to call anybody out specifically, but yes, the sweeter wines, of course, the reason they're sweeter is because they do have more sugar in them. So the drier, more of like the Cabs or this Pinot or even a Burgundy, the drier they are, the less sugar they have. And the same thing applies for champagne. So if it's a brut or an extra dry versus one that doesn't say brut or extra dry, it's going to be a little sweeter.
Gotcha.
So then we can have 2 servings of those.
So you thinking the drier one because of the sugar level? That's right.
Well, very good. Well, we have all lived through 2020. And not that 2021 is much different yet in the sense of our lives go, because we're, still all Zoomified and learning all that kind of stuff. I've got a question for Emily. Emily, you live, or not live, but you work in an environment where you've got a lot of folks there that are retired. They're obviously still very active, very into their community and their family and all that kind of stuff. And I'll just tell you from Merce and I, our perspective is 99% of all of our meetings prior to 2020, anytime we met with somebody, was always face-to-face right with people in the office. And I remember we had a client one time move away, and they moved to another state, and we were going to try to do a Skype meeting back then. And I had no idea how to get my camera on. I had no idea how to make it work. And it was just super confusing. But now getting on a Zoom is like second nature. And I'm just curious, if you had to think about your residents there, how are they doing in your mind? When I think about your residents, your group of retired folks, how are they doing with the Zoom? And what are you hearing about that?
They blow me away. It is truly incredible. We do have a very engaged community, and they were always having different committee meetings and things like that. And I mean, they did not miss a beat. They, by the end of March, March 19th of 2020 was the last time we had a visitor come into our community. And so really from March 19th on, they have been Zooming. And, I think we've all been forced to kind of, just reinvent ourselves and the way we're going to connect with people. Same for me and my job. Normally I used to do 2 to 3 tours a day, and I haven't done a tour since March. So I do FaceTime tours, but yeah, our residents, they are just amazing, just incredible. They jump right on, and they're having fun with it too. The other day, the photography club, they were meeting via Zoom, and they were wearing pirate hats and patches, and one lady had a like she was going to go to the Kentucky Derby, and so they're having fun with it. So but they're amazing.
One thing I heard that you guys are doing, we have a client who is awaiting for your new building. And he said that you guys have a camera out from that building, and it you can go anytime you want and see how the building's being built, and then you can see pictures throughout the day. That was a very nice idea.
Yeah, we do. It's such a challenge, and it's actually something that keeps me up at night is, how are we able to reach our future residents, because normally, we would invite them in for events and do all sorts of things like that. And so any way that we can connect with people, we want to take advantage of it. So we thought something that would be fun for those expansion depositors would be for them to check in anytime they want and see how things are going. And so we've installed a camera. It's a time lapse camera, so it takes a shot every 15 minutes, but they can log in anytime and see how their future home is going along. So it's been really fun.
That's excellent.
Yeah, that is, Zoom has changed. Zoom and the other ones that are similar to Zoom has really changed the idea of how you can communicate. And Ray and I talk about it every day that, everyone has been forced to learn some type of this technology. And so in a way, like a silver lining of COVID is that everyone knows this stuff now, whereas before it may have been pulling teeth to get people to use this type of technology because, well, why would I use it? Let me just come to your office, or let me just come visit you here or there. And so
Right.
I would say that is a huge silver lining. I got an email yesterday or 2 days ago. I went to NC State University right down the road, and they sent an email saying that they are going to do a Zoom unveiling of all the remodeling that they have done on DH Hill Library, which is,
Oh, nice.
when I was there, it was the oldest thing, dust everywhere, huge library. And so they have renovated it completely and they want to show it off. But the only way to do that is through Zoom right now. So kind of like what you're saying, Emily, is, the Zoom or FaceTime virtual tours. It's kind of the world we're in right now, and it works pretty well, I would say.
Yeah. I actually, you're absolutely right. I think it definitely has been one of the silver linings. A lot of our residents, because we're encouraging them to, not go just like everybody else, not get together with your families during the holidays. And so I had one resident tell me, she goes, I actually saw more of my grandkids this year than ever because we just had a big Zoom party. And, so I think, and I feel that too, I'm the only person in my family. I'm kind of the black sheep down here in North Carolina. Everybody else is in Iowa, and they weren't getting together like they normally did. And so my mom said to my sisters, she said, well, we can just do a Zoom. And my oldest sister said, oh, good. And then we can invite Em. So I got to be a part of that too. So that was really nice. So I do think that it has, kind of opened our eyes to how we can stay connected.
Well,
So
and it's funny you say that, Emily, because the similar things happened in my family. We've got between South Florida, we've got some in Colorado. The kids are scattering. So my sister and I, the kids are of an age that they're scattering. And so we have done some Zoom meetings. We were playing an online game together.
Yeah.
And have had, it's not the same as being physically together, but
Right.
it certainly has to some degree cushioned the blow of not being able to spend that time physically in the same room together.
Yeah.
So it's definitely given us a good viable alternative, much better
Yes.
than if we did not have the technology.
Right.
Yeah. While we're still on the topic of Zoom, before we transition, Andrea, how are you interacting with your clients, and how's that going in the world that we're in right now?
I have not seen a client in person since probably March the 11th or 12th. And so I had been using, I think as I had mentioned in our previous meeting or talk, that I had been using an online software program for charting and scheduling that had video chat capabilities. But again, people, weren't interested in that. They like, and I do too, like the face-to-face interaction. But everybody jumped on board very, very quickly. And now the convenience of having, the anytime Zoom meeting. I've got one client that I've worked with for several years, and she calls me on her way home from work. So she's driving or running her errands at this point because she has had to go back into her office. We'll just have a chat every couple of weeks about what's going on while she's driving. And so it's a good utilization of her time. It works. And my, of course, unanswerable question is, in the long term, how is this really going to change the way that we work with people? If I will stay on this model, if, again, things continue, like you mentioned, Ray, the way that things are right now, I don't see many changes coming up as far as face-to-face interactions. So again, if people get a year and a half or more into this, if it's permanently going to be a change, and if that's a good thing or bad thing, I mean, that's up for debate, I guess. But what do you guys think?
I mean, I definitely think that what's occurred this year, I'll give you an example. We had a client who was not really keen on wanting to do their appointment by Zoom. They wanted to come in. The problem that we're having right now is, under the current mandate, is that if you have people that are in your office outside of your house, that sort of thing, everybody has to have a mask on. Well, if you've got a mask on and you're trying to have a conversation, it's very difficult to understand everything, and you feel like you're yelling, and it's a very difficult thing to do, to communicate. And to do that for an hour is extremely tiring. And so we made a decision. in December, we had some folks in and we put ourselves like 10 feet apart and all that kind of stuff. But in December timeframe, we made a decision that we were going to only do Zoom or phone calls.
Hmm.
And so we had a client who said, I don't really want to do that, but I'll do it. And they came on. We were able to share stuff on the screen. They were able to see it clearly, easily. The meeting went really well. And they said, we really had only done Zoom with the kids and our family. We have not done a business type Zoom yet. And we were leery about it, but it actually went really well. And so we've had people tell us, you know what? I kind of don't think I would not do this. And it was much easier to hop on a Zoom with you. Now, what we believe, and we don't know, but what we believe will happen is that you'll probably, for us, have a person who wants to do a quick meeting, that they have something little that they want to deal with, a 10, 15, 20 minute, that would always be Zoom. But I do believe that we'll go back to the face-to-face for the bigger meetings. And, we love the face-to-face. We actually have a place right now in our office that we designed the whole thing to have people in. So we can't wait to have people back in and do stuff face-to-face. We love that interaction. But I do think that Zoom will handle a lot of little meetings. And it is nice. It's much nicer, in my opinion, to see somebody than it is to talk on the phone. So I love Zoom better than talking on the phone.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And from my perspective, I get a lot of body language read off of my clients, or a lot of facial expressions. If I'll
Right.
ask them, a question about what they're eating or what their activity is, and I get a lot of information from that initial kind of subconscious response, either on their face or if they kind of pull. I mean, literally, I'll see people kind of like back up a little bit, like, whoa. And so
Speaking of that-
absolutely having that visual for me at the minimum is very important.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Andrea, I'm sure that a lot of people are making changes right now or attempting to make changes. And I've always understood it that it's easier to make small changes. If you could suggest the top 3 small changes to make yourself healthier, or to your diet or exercise, what would you say those are, the 3 easiest, smallest ones?
You know what most people really struggle with, and that's drinking enough water or even drinking enough fluids.
Yeah.
I encourage water, but sometimes I'll get down to the point of saying, look, just drink anything. Drink the wine already. But people,
You heard it first here from Andre.
did.
I was going to
That's what
say,
I
you're
heard
my
that.
kind of nutritionist.
That's my takeaway.
free pass, everybody.
He said, don't drink water, drink wine.
That's amazing.
But hydration in general, right? And again, especially as one ages, they tend to drink less. So one, I'm not going to say it's small, because if you do not consume a lot of fluids right now, or especially water, it can be more of a challenge than one believes to increase that intake. So I say, take a look, or be just observant about your fluid consumption over the course of several days. See if you're getting close to that 6 or 8 glasses a day, or if you need to increase it some. A problem I've seen due to people working from home, one of the primary ones is the lack of activity. Meaning, if you used to have to get up from your desk and you would walk to the printer, or you would check the mail, or you would walk, halfway across this huge building to go to the restroom. And now you're sitting at your desk, and either you don't have a printer or it's within arm's reach. So literally, people are not getting up out of their chairs for hours on end. Whether I have people, I can talk them into switching to a standing desk, which I know you guys use at your office, and I usually am standing at mine, but not right now because I tend to move around a lot. I shift foot to foot and move, so I'm set and still for you guys. But being aware of how long you're sitting and not moving or getting up. So that's the second one. And for the third thing, and I actually have done a complete presentation, that I have on my YouTube channel about snacking, or how to avoid the snacking while working from home, the availability of food, has been very challenging for people to avoid. And, you know, I have people joke that they've gained the COVID-19 or at least the COVID-10. And, you know, between again, the lack of activity, the availability of food, the stress eating that has gone on. So perhaps saying, you know, take a look at your snacking habits and what structure you have around food availability during the day. And again, have that awareness and maybe tweak some little changes here and there.
That's awesome. Hey, before we started recording, I asked Emily about, I said, you know, because we had, okay, let me give a little bit of background. In the original conversation we had about CCRCs, we had this perception that people might think is that, you know, people are not as active as they would want to be. And you said that's something that you go, no, our folks, you know, they come here, they got a lot going on. And so I asked you about what kind of things are people doing? Like, do you have clubs? Do you have things that people do? So just for an insight, could you just share with us like some of the different clubs, different activities that would be going on at a CCRC? I'm going to go with non-COVID, and then we'll talk about how that's dealt with in COVID. But in a normal environment, like what are some of the things that are going on at a CCRC?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You know, that has been, I think, one of the hardest things for our residents, other than, you know, what we struggle with, not, you know, getting together with our friends and family the way we used to. But I think for our residents, the other thing that they've grown so accustomed to is just all that interaction that they have right outside their door, you know, of their apartment. So at Glen Eyre, and I don't think that we're unique in this way, we have over, I lost count at 27 how many different resident groups that we have, whether that be spiritual life or health and wellness, dining, building and grounds. You know, so there's a lot of ways for them to get involved there. We have a really robust health and wellness program down in the fitness center, and that has been a really big challenge for our fitness instructor, is trying to figure out how to reach our residents, because we have to follow the same guidelines that are just a regular, you know, Planet Fitness would. And so she has started her own YouTube channel, and she's been putting those
Nice.
classes on YouTube for our residents.
Mhm.
Our auditorium, which is a huge space and one that we have taken full advantage of during the pandemic, we're able to social distance in there. So they still have to wear their masks, but we can, you know, easily accommodate 10 people in that room. And she's been teaching classes there. So, you know, that's a hard thing when you're used to always having things going on. And then, I mean, they do way more than I do. They have a lot more fun in their life than I am right now as a working mom. But you know, there's always something going on at Glen Eyre. There's a craft room, there's a wood shop, you name it. I mean, there's always something going on. So to your point, Radon, that is the biggest myth, you know, of what is a continuing care retirement community. Because I think people, they do have in their minds, you know, oh, well, I'm still in good health. Why would I need to go to a retirement community? And that is just not the case.
Yeah,
So,
I'll piggyback on that because I get to talk to our clients that are, you know, thinking about that as well. And the one in particular that has already signed up with Glen Eyre and is in the phases of just waiting for that to be built so he can move in, and
mhm,
he's very excited about it.
yeah.
But then I just spoke with another client before the end of the year, and they're not going with Glen Eyre, but they went with another place very similar, and he's
Mhm.
like, it just blew my mind as to the amenities that they have at these places. He was mentioning like the different amount of restaurants that you have at a CCRC, and he
Mhm.
said that he gets to keep. So he's an avid golfer, and so he gets to keep his golf cart so that he can just drive across the street and go to the
Yeah.
local country club. So you know, after doing the podcast with you, it gave us, I think, a good understanding as to, well, it's not just a run-of-the-mill retirement home scenario. That unfortunately there's a stigma to that, and CCRCs are not that. They're way more than that. And I think I get that that's something that we have to break.
Yeah, absolutely. And, actually to the contrary, when people say I'm still in good health, I always, kind of want to say, well, and you're going to need to be when you move in because there's a health requirement.
Right.
So careful there, because you are going to want to be in very good health. And, really our independent living, which is where our residents start, it's not about what you're giving up. It's about, I don't want to worry about the stress of home ownership. I talked to one of our expansion depositors before I jumped on the call today with you, and they're waiting for one of the new apartments. And he said, Christmas Eve, my wife and I were sitting here in the living room, and our ceiling fan started rain. It was dripping, and he said, and so now we're getting a new roof this week. And he said,
Oh.
man, I can't wait to move to Glen Air.
Yeah.
So those are the types of things that, they, had that moment of, what are we waiting for? This is crazy. Let's go somewhere where we don't have to worry about those things. So
Mhm.
Good. Hey, before we wrap up, because unfortunately our time is moving here quickly, and I know we said this before, but just so folks know, Andrea, could you just tell if anybody wanted to talk to you and about nutrition and how they might be able to be healthier, what's the best way for them to contact you or for them to find out about you?
Right. So, I mean, a couple of different avenues, right? If they want to check out and see what I've got going on as far as information that I share with folks, they can go to my website, and I try and keep it super simple. It's nutritionandrea.com. That's my same if they are into social media. That's my same kind of listing on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And the turn of the year, I've been trying to post things more frequently. I'm trying to put up a recipe a week and some different information throughout the week. If they choose to, they can always email me directly at nutritionandrea@yahoo.com. Again, we try and keep the theme going for everybody. So that's the different ways that you can contact me. Again, social media, directly, hit the website, check it out. But yeah, love to talk to people about being healthier and how I can help someone to achieve that goal, because it makes them healthier and it makes me happy to see that happen. So it brings me a lot of joy and happiness when that happens.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Emily, could you just tell us what's the best way for somebody who might be looking at wanting to investigate a CCRC? Like, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
sure, absolutely. You can always call the main line at Glen Air, which is 919-460-8095, or I have a direct line. Or if they don't have a pen when they're listening to this podcast, they can just go to glenair.org, and there's a contact us button. So, and we're on Facebook and, all the different social media platforms as well. So,
Well, I tell you what I've learned. You take a bottle of wine, a nutritionist, a CCRC marketing director, and some financial people, and we have a lot of fun. The time just flies by.
We sure do.
It has flown by.
I know,
So-
I'm so sad it's ending already.
I know. It flies by. But thank you so much. This was super beneficial. I know we get feedback all the time from our clients and other folks that will give us feedback on the comments, and they tell us how much they enjoy the different podcasts. But the highlight is the wind down, because it's just really a conversation. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you have a good week.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
You all
having
are
us.
just the best. So thank
Wow.
you.
Thank you.
Completely
guys.
enjoy it. Thank you. And everybody drink up, hydrate.
There we go.